In this session, we are going to discuss about the most important programming interfaces that we use to access the context information. Okay, so you see, this is the one of the interface if underscore wd underscore context underscore node. This is important interface which we use to access the context node level information. Okay, in this context, in this interface, if you see, we have a complete uh, more important methods. Bind underscore element, this is bind underscore element method is used to bind single element to context node. Okay, so bind underscore elements is used to bind multiple elements to context node. Bind underscore structure, to bind one single record to context node, we use bind underscore structure. Bind underscore table, to bind multiple records, in the sense like to bind internal table to context node, we use the bind underscore table. Okay, and then get attribute, we normally don't use get attribute method of this interface. Okay, now here you see get child node. Get child node is used to find the child node. Okay, child node reference, child node of lead selection or specific index. Okay, so now get element is just I mean here, when we say context node, I mean you can read the data from context node and you can set the data into context node, you can keep the data into context node, or you can place the data into context node. So bind in the sense like bind or set, or something like you are setting the data into context node. When you say get in the sense like you are reading the data from context node. Okay, here you see get element, here bind element. Bind element is by sending the data to context node, binding the data, binding an element to context node. So when you say get element, you are reading one element from context node. Get elements. So okay, so like this you can. And another one more important method, get selected elements. Okay, get selected elements is more important here. This method is used to get selected elements method is used to read the selected elements in a table. Okay, read the selected elements in a table. Okay, whenever when you have more than one record selected in a table, then you can, to read the selected elements from table, you can use get selected elements method. Okay, now invalidate, there is another important method invalidate, which will clear the data in context node. This is something like clear internal table. This, it is similar to statement like clear internal table, clear itab. So that how it works here. Okay, now this is context node accessing. Okay, now we have another important interface, context element. Okay, this is one of the important interface. Okay, now here you see this interface is used to access the element level information. Okay, element level information. So here you see get attribute. Get attribute method is used to read one particular attribute value. Okay, now get child node, you can, I mean if you have a deep, I mean similar to deep structure, you can have sub child under root node. So then in such cases, if you want to read get child node, I mean you can use. And set attribute, again to set the particular attribute value in an element, then you can say set attribute. Okay, here you see set static attributes. Set static attributes is used to set the multiple attributes values in a context node. In context element, you can use set static attributes. Get static attributes, if you are trying to read multiple attribute values of an element at a time, you can use the get static attributes. So get attribute is important, get static attributes important, set attribute is important, set static attributes. These four methods are very important in this interface. Okay, now let me just go to the help.sap.com. Here I'll explain you cardinality of a context node. See here, what is context in Web Dynpro ABAP? Context is a data repository in Web Dynpro ABAP. So the behavior of the context is defined based on the cardinality property. If the cardinality is 1 to 1 or 0 to 1, then it behaves as a work area or structure. If the cardinality of a context node is 1 to n or 0 to n, then it behaves as an internal table. Okay, so to work with the table, we will have to set the cardinality of the context node as 1 to n or 0 to n. Here in this diagram you see vehicle, round circle as the node, and triangles are context attributes. So here you see vehicle is the context node. Under this vehicle we have three context attributes. They are color, registration date, and license number. Okay, so this particular context node cardinality has 1 to n. So now it can hold multiple elements. Okay, you see this. So under this vehicle context node I have three elements. Okay, so each element has three context attributes. So here three context attributes are created in vehicle. So it has three different values. You see, red car, this is registration date and license number. Blue car, so this is one record, this is one record, and this is one record. Okay, so here we have three elements. In Web Dynpro ABAP we call it as elements. If it is normal ABAP we call it as records. Okay, internal table records. So here you have, similarly you can have child node also. Here and again under child node we have three context attributes. Okay, so when data is filled with data is filled in context node, so then we will have context elements. Okay, here we will apply those programming interfaces for this particular scenario. Okay, now since it is behaving as an internal table, let's say for example user is trying to read the element 1. Okay, user is trying to read the element 1. Now let me just go here again. See here, so here now let's say for example I am trying to read all these elements. Now I am trying to read all the elements. How to read all the elements? From the context node. Okay, now let me just show you here. Okay, go to class builder. Okay, so we are accessing node level information. So go to this interface and you will see get static attributes table. Okay, there is one more important method, get static attributes table. Yes, this one, get static attributes table. This is important method. It will read the entire context node information, okay, into a database, into a internal table. Okay, so if you use this method you can read all the elements into one internal table. Okay, you can read all the elements into one internal table. Okay, so like this. But if you, I mean, if now coming here, lead selection. Here we have lead selection property for context node. If the lead selection property is set for context node, then always the first record will be lead selected of the each context node. So here you see under this context node the first record is lead selected. Under customer context node first record is lead selected. Okay, so now in such scenarios if you want to read the lead selected record, then you can use the get static attributes method. Okay, you can use the get static attributes method. Now we will apply all these methods in real time, I mean one example. Okay, now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to component controller. Let me just remove this. Okay, okay, delete it. Yes, save. Now here I'm going to create context node, create context node vback. Okay, vback 0 to n. I'm selecting it as 0 to n and I'm initializing lead selection. Yes, add attributes from structure, select the required fields, they become context attributes in Web Dynpro. Okay, okay, right, fine. Okay, now we have context attributes created. Now go to v underscore main, go to context, just remove this. It was there already, so just remove it. Now do the context mapping for this fresh node. Okay, now done. Now go to methods, go to layout. Now just remove this and do the fresh layout. Just click on Web Dynpro code wizard, select table, select context, VBAC, click OK. Okay, now just remove this as and set it as flow layout. Okay, now just save it and then activate it. Okay, now execute this. Okay, let me just activate the entire Web Dynpro component. Now just refresh this. Okay, now you see table has been displayed, but now I'm just trying to get the data. Okay, now I will write the required logic to get the data. Go to methods, WDA init, select star from VBAK into table LT underscore VBAK up to 10 rows. Activate it. Okay, internal table is not declared, so let me just declare it. LT underscore VBAK type table of VBAK. Okay, now activate it. So now let me just keep a breakpoint here and see. It will go to debugging. Now press F6. You see LT underscore VBAK has 10 records now. Okay, now in order to see this data in Web Dynpro application, now we have to do the data binding. So now what method we have to use? Let me just go to class, this interface. So we have to use the method called bind underscore table. Okay, we have to use the method called bind underscore table. This method is used to bind internal table to context node. Okay, now I will use the Web Dynpro code wizard. As we discussed in the earlier sessions, we can take the help of Web Dynpro code wizard to generate the required code. Okay, here I've selected set radio button and as table operation because I'm just trying to upload the data into context node and I'm just trying to upload it as internal table. So select the context node, click OK. Now code has been generated here. You see from here code has been generated. Okay, now I will explain this code, generated code. Okay, delete. Now see here, this is data declaration. Okay, reference variable declaration, and this is internal table declaration. This how it will become internal table declarations, because lt underscore vbak type wda underscore this elements underscore vbak. Now if I just double click on it, just double click on here, wherever there is the cursor, just double click on it, it will take you to the generated code. Here there is, I mean, if whenever you create some context or create attribute or create some action or plugs or whatever you do in the Web Dynpro ABAP, behind the screen a code has been generated by Web Dynpro ABAP framework. Okay, see here, if I just go to this interface, code has been generated by Web Dynpro ABAP framework. Here you see constants, types declaration, methods. Okay, all these you see here. Okay, code has been generated by Web Dynpro ABAP framework. Okay, so with the help of these attributes, we are accessing that generated code information. Okay, now similarly, if I just double click on it, see here elements underscore VBAK type standard table of element underscore VBAK. Okay, so okay, now this becomes the internal table. Now here what I am trying to do is, if you just go to the context, where is this VBAK context node? Under context. So I am just trying to get the reference of VBAK, because I have to upload, I have to bind the internal table data to VBAK context node. So what I am doing, using get underscore child underscore node method, I am just trying to find out the VBAK context node reference. Okay, if I just double click here, it will take me to the generated code again. There is a generated code constant. This is the constant name, type string, value VBAK. So VBAK is the node name. Okay, so here in place of this, I can just simply say like this VBAK also. This is similar, but this is hard coding. So that is why you can just write like this. Okay, so let me just delete again. Okay, right, now that is fine. Now we, with reference to this in reference variable, I am calling the bind underscore table method. Okay, I am passing these parameters, and that's all. Now control S, activate it, activate it. Sorry, display errors has already been declared. Okay, since it has already been declared, you can comment it. Okay, comment it, activate it. Now go to Web Dynpro application. Now refresh it. Data should be displayed now. Okay, yes, data has been displayed. Okay, here you see by default drop down has come. You see by default drop down has come because during table design itself, this particular attribute type has been selected as drop down. Probably, let me show you just to make sure that is our understanding correct or not. Let me just go here. Now come here, VB type. You see this drop down by key. Drop down by key, in the next session we are going to discuss about drop down by key and drop down by index. That time I'll explain you. Okay, this is fine now. Okay, now here now I'm trying to read the lead selected record in the programming. How to do that? Okay, now go to Web Dynpro code wizard. Now I am just going to place table toolbar, insert table to insert toolbar. Okay, now here I'll place couple of buttons, insert toolbar element, read selected record. Okay, read selected records, read selected record. Okay, button, toolbar button. Okay, now fine. Now I'll place text, read selected record. Okay, now since it is a button, I'll have to create an on action, read record. Okay, now select transfer event parameters, click OK. Okay, now done. Now what I will do, I'll create another, I will place another read multiple, read. Okay, toolbar button. Okay, now here I'll say text, read selected elements. Okay, now here I'll create another action, read multiple, click OK. Okay, now I have two actions, two buttons created, two actions created. Okay, now let me just go to Web Dynpro application. Okay, here I cannot select more than one record because my context node selection property is 0 to 1 only. Okay, now I'm just trying to read the one single record. Okay, now just go to methods, go to method list, read record, read single record. Okay, now when I click on this, just go here. Now here I'm going to write the method and I'm going to explain. Go to Web Dynpro code wizard. Here I'm going to read the information from context node. So I have to select VBAK read. Okay. Now click OK. Okay. Now code has been generated. I'll explain you the generated code. See here. Now this time we are accessing one element. Okay, we are accessing one element. Okay, so that is why first we got the node reference. See here, reference variable has been created, and then element ref type ref2 if wd context element. This is if wd context node. Okay, this is work area or structure, you can say. Okay, now I'm getting the node reference, then element reference. From that element I'm reading all the context attribute values. Okay, so from that element I'm just going to read all the attribute values. Okay, now I'll place a breakpoint here. Let me just activate it. Breakpoint. Now let me just go here and click on read selected record and refresh it once again. Okay, now just I'm not selecting anything, but I'm clicking on read selected record. Okay, it should go to breakpoint. Okay, now press F6. This has instance created, element still initial only. Now press F6. Okay, it also has element instance. Now from this element, if I open this, you'll see here, you'll see the records, static attributes. Okay, get static attributes. Okay, now see selected record data. Now if you execute this get static attributes, currently ls underscore vbak has nothing, there is no data. Now press F6. Now data has come. What is the vbln 4969? If you just go to the application, this is the 4969 which is selected. Now press F8. That's all. Okay, now let's say I select 4972. Now click on read selected record. Now if you come here, press F6, ls underscore vbak, it has 4972. I have selected 4972. So like this you will read the data. Okay, now this is fine. Now how to read multiple records? So first of all I have to make sure the selection property of the context node should be 0 to n. Okay, should be 0 to n. Okay, now fine, activate it and you remove the lead selection also. Okay, now execute this application. Now I can have multiple selection possible. I can have multiple selection possible. Okay, now in such scenarios, how to read these four elements? How to read four elements? Now go to view and now go to methods. Now which method we will have to use? we are now accessing the node level information. So get selected elements, as I told you, get selected elements we will have to use now, get selected elements. So to read the selected elements we will have to use the get selected elements. Okay, now just say, or you can use the different also, read as table operation, click on context, vback, click OK. Code has been generated. Get static attributes of table. Okay, now in this scenario, get what get static attributes table will does, it will read all the elements. But what we are trying to do, we are trying to read only specific selected elements. So we don't have the generated code is not satisfying our expected behavior. So what we have to do, we will have to change the code, generated code. Okay, now let me just show you here the generated code, what it does, and then I will change the according to our expectation. Okay, now let me just keep a breakpoint here. Okay, now let me just execute it. Okay, I'm just okay. Now what I will do, I will select multiple records. Okay, now I have selected 3 records and I'm just clicking on read selected elements. Okay, here my expectation is to read only selected records 4970, 4971 and 4972. But the generated code, what it does, so currently lt underscore vbak has 0 records, and now when I press F6 it has 10 records. In the sense like get static attributes table method will does, it will read all the elements of a context node. Okay, but now what we are expecting to read only selected elements. So now what I will do, I'll just change this, and then okay, here let me use the same reference. Now here, okay, I will delete it. Now I will use the pattern button. Okay, click on ABAP object patterns. Okay, here instance is lo underscore nd underscore vvak. So this is the reference. This is the lv underscore vvak is the difference. Using the same instance, I am using the different method. If underscore WDA underscore context node interface class method is get selected elements. Okay, get selected elements. So get selected elements is the method which will return the selected elements of a table. Okay, now exporting. Okay, now fine, should be fine. And now this set. Okay, now if you just go to this method, or if you just go to this method, what is the signature? Go to parameter and say set this one, home, control C. Now here declare data declaration lo underscore selected elements type this one. Now this, see this, what is this type? See, this is table type. Now should be fine. Okay, now control home. Now specify here. Okay, now pretty printer, save and activate it. Now I'll place a breakpoint here and now refresh the screen. Now I'll select more than one record and will show you. Now I'm clicking on read selected elements. Now I should have 2 records read from the table. Okay, now I'll go to here. Now press here, see lo underscore selection el has no records as of now. Now press F6. You see it has 2 records. Okay, but they are in terms of elements. Now they are in terms of elements. Okay, now once again we will have to read from here. Okay, see, get static attributes. Okay, okay, so like this, now we will have to read from Now I will show you how to read them. Okay, now here what I will do, lo underscore sel lo underscore selection type if underscore wd underscore context underscore element. Okay, so this is internal elements internal table. Loopet. Okay, this one, see this one into, okay, sorry, assigning this one lo underscore cell end if end loop, sorry. Now here you can say field symbol, you can declare field symbols. This is what the advantage of field symbols. Okay, now what you can do is, so using this, now pattern, this is the instance, so and specify here instead of node, now we are accessing the element level information. F4, now say get static attributes, click OK. Now done importing. Okay, so now in place of static attributes I can declare something, data ls underscore vbak temp selected type vbak. Okay, and then lt underscore vbak selected type table of vbak. Okay, now I will use this, control C here. Okay, and then and append this to this. Okay, now I'll show you. Activate it. What is display errors? Okay, type ref2. Sorry, type ref2. Okay, now I'll keep a breakpoint here and let me just, now let me select, okay, read selected elements. Now if it will go to debugging, now lo underscore selection el has two elements. Now I'm just pressing F6. Now here lo underscore selection has record, ls underscore vbak selection has no element, no record. Now press F6. Now lt underscore vbak has no, now append statement will be executed, press F6. It has one record. Now once again loop, since loop has two records, it will be processed two times. Now if I open this internal table, it has two records. Now what, just to make sure, what I will do, okay, I will design a screen Okay, go to context. Here I'll create some local context. VBAK selected. VBAK and cardinality should be 0 to n, and no lead selection. Selection is 0 to n, and add attributes from structure. Okay, let's say VBLN ER ernum r dot rt. Okay, that's all for the time being. Now okay, now go to layout. Here I'm going to create another table. Web Dynpro code wizard, table, select the context, VBAK selected, click OK. Now new table has been generated. Now I'll just keep some horizontal gutter between them, these HGT horizontal gutter. Okay, now okay, click OK, just keep it move up. Okay, now and say height as large. Okay, now done. Save and activate. Now what I'm expecting is, as soon as I select some records and click on read in place of read selected elements, I would change the name display selected elements. Okay, when I say display selected elements, so selected elements will be displayed in the bottom table. Okay, now I go to methods. Here I'm just removing the breakpoint. I'll write the required code here. Okay, now once again go to Web Dynpro code wizard, set as table operation context. Now we are going to bind the data to second context node. Okay, now just pass this to bind underscore table method. Okay, just pass this in place of this, remove this and control V. Now just activate it. Now let me just execute it. See, now what I'm expecting here is, okay, just let me just remove the breakpoint, save it and activate it. Now as soon as I select some records from internal table 1, so the selected record, as soon as select some records and click on display selected elements, those selected records will be displayed in the second table. Okay, now just press select some records, this, now click on display selected elements. Yeah, see, selected elements are displayed in the second table. Now let's say for example select one more record, say like this. Okay, now click on display selected elements. Now see, 4972 is also displayed. Now select one more, now click on display selected elements, fourth is also displayed. So behind the screen code, the code written by us is generated. Now what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to change the cardinality of the context node to 0 to 1. Okay, right, sorry, cardinality should be 0 to n, but the selection property should be 0 to 1. Okay, right. And now I'll go to v underscore main, and here again once again I'm going to create some local context node, VBAK display. Okay, VBAK and cardinality 1 to 1, selection 0 to 1. Okay, that everything is should be fine. VBLN ER ernum, this one RT. Okay, should be fine. Okay, now go to layout. Now I'm going to place input fields. Okay, now I'm going to place input fields. I'm just going to place insert element, transparent container, form, transparent container. Okay, now in this transparent container, I'm going to design the screen. Click on Web Dynpro code wizard. Sorry, click on form. Click on form. Select the required context. VBA display, and all of them as input fields only. Okay, now we have, so let's say this as matrix layout, and then I would say this as matrix head data, and this as matrix head data, and this as matrix head data, and this is also matrix head data. Okay, now I'm going to display the selected record in this input fields. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to write the required code in. So what I'm going to expect here is, as soon as I select one single record and click on read selected record, so the selected record should be displayed in the input fields. Okay, here I have the selected record data. I'm going to display it in the input fields. Now set, since the cardinality is 1 to 1, so I can use set only. See, these are disabled. Okay, now here in place of, I'm just copying there, and in place of set static attributes, I'll paste that work area name. Okay, right, now activate it. Now let me just execute it. Now if I select one record and click on read selected record, so the selected record is displayed here, 4970. Now when I click on this and click on read selected record, see 4971. I will select 4973 and click on read selected record, so 4973 is displayed. So like this data will be displayed. Now what I'm going to do is, till now we dealt with table, but now I'm going to deal with some particular attribute or complete attributes. Okay, if I want to read what is the sales document number, how to read that I'm going to do now. Okay, so just go here, go to method list. Here I'm going to, I would like to read what is the created on value. Okay, so what is the created on value? I'm going to place one more button. Okay, insert element, read attribute, button. Okay, say read at attribute. Now create action for it. Layout, an action for this, read. Okay, now click OK. Go to methods, go to actions, read. Okay, now here I'm just trying to read the one particular attribute value. So read context and say context attribute value of er dot in VBAK display. Okay, now code will be generated. So here we will come across with get attribute method. Here you see get attribute. Let me explain you the complete code. See first, where is the, so you should have clear picture which context attribute value you are trying to read. Now you are trying to read the er dot context attribute value. So programmatically the code will be generated by the Web Dynpro ABAP framework. So based on the mapping, see here where is the er dat, it is in the vback underscore display under vback underscore display context node. So where is the vback underscore display context node, it is under context. So now the code should be generated as get child node for vback underscore display. Now the vback underscore display node instance will be stored in the some reference variable. Now once we get it, now we are trying to read the er underscore dat. So now we should have element read, we should read the complete element. So always if we are trying to access the element level information, we should have the node instance first. Once we have the first, we should get the node instance and then get the element instance, then read the attribute value or read the complete element. Okay, or if you are trying to read all the elements, if you have the context node instance, that should be enough. Okay, now go to methods. Now see the, okay, see, go open this method and now see here L1 ND and VBAK display. So this is, what is this, type ref to context node. Okay, now using the get child node, you are finding the in the reference of VBAK. Okay, this node, see this, what is constant type string value VBAK underscore display. VBAK underscore display is the context node name. So it is getting the instance of VBAK underscore display, right? Fine. Now now we have the context node instance. Now we are reading the element. Using get element, we are reading the element instance. So we have the element instance in this reference variable. Once we have the element, now using the get attribute method, I am reading this attribute value. So using exporting and importing. In importing, I'll get the attribute value. So now let me just activate it. Let me keep a breakpoint here. Now break this, keep a breakpoint here. Now come here. Now I'll refresh once again. Okay, now select something here and click on read selected record. Now I'm just trying to read the created on attribute value. So click on read attribute. So 0301 1997 value should come in the debugging. Okay, now it is empty. Press F6. See, 1997 0103 1997 0301 1997 0301 1997. So the value has come. So we can use the get attribute method to read one specific attribute value. Similarly, you can use set underscore attribute method to set the one attribute value. So this is what the data binding techniques. In the next session we will see we will work with couple of UI elements, drop down by key, drop down by index, radio button group by key and radio button group by index. Thank you.